My name is Sam. I'm the owner of Professional Fleet. Many times a customer comes in, especially during the winter time, complaining of a lack of heat. And it can be difficult to figure out what the actual problem is. This particular car, the customer's complaint was at idle, the vehicle had okay, decent heat, but on the road, driving on the road, it lost its heat. So what we did is we go through and we want to grab the hoses coming out of the heater core. So we want to check and see if the heater core is bad. Both hoses should feel the same temperature and they should be nice and hot once the vehicle is warmed up. If one hose is cooler than the other significantly, we know we have a plugged heater core. We know the thermostat is good in this vehicle because once we drove it down the road, the temperature of the vehicle is able to get to around 220 degrees. Most vehicles will heat up to around 215 to 230 range on the gauge in the vehicle. So we verify the temperature is good and the thermostat's working properly, but we still have no heat. So after that, we walk over, we grab the hoses, and we want to feel the hose. On this particular vehicle, we have one of the heater hoses here, goes into the vehicle, and this one back here comes out of the vehicle. So what we need to do is we got to remove both hoses, and we're going to actually flush the heater core forward and backward multiple times to get to dislodge what's causing the heater core to be plugged up or not letting it flow coolant. So right now we're going to disconnect these hoses, and then we're going to back flush and forward flush them. All right. To do the job, we basically have to remove the heater cores hoses. We got to remove the hose clamps from the hoses. All we need is a basic set of pliers, preferably a wide jaw style pliers, good ones, and that will remove the clamps. If you happen to have the good pliers for the heater core hoses to remove those style clamps, use these instead. They work a lot better, they're more efficient, and a lot better luck holding the tension on those clamps. If you don't have them, you can just use a regular set of pliers. So we're going to start by using these pliers. So like I said, we're going to locate the two heater hoses going from the engine to inside the vehicle. There'll be two rubber hoses going in. What we're going to do is we're going to remove that clamp and slide it off, which then releases the hose clamp from the hose, so we can get the hose off. So let's grab the hose, turn, get it to break free, slide it off. Okay, we have one hose loose. Next, we got to find how to get the next hose loose. And on this particular one, we're going to have to remove this heater hose here. So, we're going to take this clamp loose. Slide it out of the way. And then we got to turn this just to break it loose from its seal that's from the factory. From the years of... Alright, she's broke free. So, now we got to do is slide the hose off. Let's give it a good pull. And she's working herself off here. And she's about to go. Okay, and there we have it. All right, normally there'd be a lot of coolant that would flow out of here, but due to the fact that this thing is plugged up, most of the coolant has drained back into the engine or into the reservoir here. So now we're going to grab the hose and we're going to flush this out. You're going to spray through the garden hose water into the heater core hoses, and we're going to wait for water to flow out. And what we're looking for is water to come out this hose here. So we're going to flush it. So I'll put that over here on this side. All right, so we're going to go this way. And we got water going out one side, looks really good. And then now we're going to grab the other hose and do the same thing. Go back the other direction. All right. Now we're going to go back the other way. I like to do this a couple times. I didn't see any really major restrictions. A lot of times you hear a loud noise, like a thump noise, as it releases the buildup. I didn't particularly get a lot this time on this one. Just going to go back and forth a couple times. Make sure we got really good flow. And if it starts coming back towards you, that means it's plugged up. Basic water pressure is good enough to do this. That way I don't have to worry about damaging the heater core. Alright, so we flushed the heater core back and forth. Next thing we'll do is I'm going to reassemble the hoses. Just push them on nice and tight. Make sure they're on. Turn the clamps so they're accessible. Since a lot of times they're not when you first start off, but going back together you can make them a lot more accessible. And we'll lock it down. And want to make sure the clamp is on where the steel holes clamps it around nice and tight. All right, then the rear one, we'll slide that one back on. All right, we're going to grab the hose clamp with our pliers. And I'm going to slide it back on the hose. About there. And we're back together. All we got to do is top off our coolant. We're going to add coolant back to the system now. Just make sure it's mixed 50-50. Top it right off. And start the vehicle up. Let it warm up for about 20-30 minutes. Make sure you get all the air out of the system. Make sure the cooling fans turn on before you drive it. That eliminates any air pockets that could happen and cause an overheat. So put the cap back on the coolant overflow jug, lock her down, clean it up, start it up, run it about 20-30 minutes, check and verify that both hoses are now hot going into the heater core. Make sure the upper one and the lower one are equal temperatures and should be nice and hot. If there's still an issue where one's hot and one's cool, then either the heater core is plugged up much worse than we initially thought, which would require replacement, or we have another issue in the engine that's causing it not to warm up at that point, which would require further diagnostic and inspection.